Have you ever felt completely alone? Like no one understands you, no one supports you, and you're just standing in a crowd where no one truly sees you? It's painful, isn't it? That feeling of being invisible, of not having a single person to lean on. But what if I told you loneliness is not your weakness? What if I told you that the strongest people in the world have walked alone? That the most powerful transformations happen in silence, when no one is clapping for you? Stay with me till the end of this video, because by the time we're done, you'll never see loneliness the same way again. You'll see it as your greatest power. Most people fear being alone. They think it's a sign of failure, a sign that they're unwanted, unworthy, or not good enough. But what if the opposite were true? What if being alone is exactly what you need to become the strongest version of yourself? History has shown us that those who have the courage to walk alone become the ones the world follows. And today we talk about a woman who turned her loneliness into power. A woman who had no friends. A woman who had no one to guide her. A woman who was rejected, bullied, and doubted. But instead of breaking, she built herself. This is the story of Priyanka Chopra. Not just an actress, not just a celebrity, but a force of nature. A woman who faced rejection in not one, but two of the world's biggest entertainment industries. A woman who walked into every room where she wasn't welcomed and made them remember her name. But it wasn't always like this. There was a time when she had no one. A time when she felt out of place, like she didn't belong anywhere. Imagine being a teenage girl, moving to a new country, struggling to fit in. Imagine being mocked for the way you look, the way you speak, the way you simply exist. She had no close friends. No shoulders to cry on, no one to tell her it's going to be okay. But here's what most people don't understand. Loneliness doesn't destroy you, it reveals you. It shows you who you are when no one is watching. It strips away every distraction, every fake connection, and leaves you face to face with the only person who truly matters. Yourself. Most people run from that silence. They drown it out with distractions. They seek approval, validation, and a place to fit in. But those who embrace that silence, they become unstoppable. Because when you have no one, you learn to rely on yourself. When you have nothing, you learn to create everything. That's what she did. Instead of letting loneliness break her, she used it as fuel. She focused on herself. She worked on herself. She became so good that the same people who once ignored her had no choice but to notice her. Think about your own life for a moment. How often have you felt alone? How many times have you let loneliness convince you that you're not enough, that you need someone to believe in you before you can believe in yourself? But here's the truth. You don't need anyone to see your worth. You just need to see it yourself. Priyanka Chopra didn't wait for a friend to hold her hand. She didn't wait for the world to accept her. She decided that even if she had no one, she would still rise. And that is why she became unstoppable. By the end of this video, you'll understand why loneliness is not a punishment. It's a gift. A gift that forces you to grow. A gift that pushes you to rely on your own strength. A gift that, if used correctly, will turn you into someone the world cannot ignore. So stay till the end, because what you're about to hear might just change the way you see yourself forever. People see the success. They see the fame, the achievements, the confidence, but they don't see what came before it. They don't see the struggle, the isolation, the moments of doubt. There was a time when life felt like a battle every single day, a time when fitting in seemed impossible. Moving to a new country as a teenager wasn't easy. Walking into school and feeling like a stranger. Being judged for looking different, being called names, being told, "You don't belong here." It's funny how the world tries to shrink you when you refuse to fit their mold. It wasn't just the words, it was the feeling of not being enough. The feeling of walking into a room and sensing the whispers behind your back. The feeling of being surrounded by people, yet completely alone. Loneliness isn't just about not having friends. It's about feeling disconnected. feeling like no one truly understands you. Like no matter what you do, you'll never be accepted. Most people break under that weight. They start believing what the world tells them. They start thinking, maybe I'm not good enough, maybe I should just fade into the background. But those who refuse to shrink, those who decide, no, I am not going to be defined by someone else's opinion, those people become unstoppable. When there was no support, no encouragement, no one to say, you can do this, there was only one choice: to believe in yourself before anyone else does. Because here's the truth: the world only claps for you when you've already won. No one sees the lonely nights. No one sees the moments when you feel like giving up. No one sees the silent battles inside your mind. But if you can survive that, if you can keep going when no one is watching, when no one is cheering, when no one believes in you, then nothing can stop you. Because the most dangerous person in the world is the one who doesn't need approval, the one who doesn't beg to fit in, the one who uses rejection as fuel. So the next time you feel like you're standing alone, remember this: strength is built in the silence. Power is built in the moments no one sees. Let them underestimate you. Let them doubt you. Let them say you can't, because one day they'll have no choice but to watch you prove them wrong. Life has a way of testing those who dare to dream. It doesn't hand out success. It throws obstacles, challenges, and moments that make you question everything. Imagine being a young girl, moving to a foreign country, stepping into a school where no one looks like you, no one sounds like you, and no one cares how lost you feel. Imagine waking up every morning knowing that as soon as you walk into that building, the whispers will start, the stares, the judgment, the quiet exclusion that speaks louder than words. It wasn't just about being different. It was about feeling like an outsider, like no matter how much you tried to blend in, you would never belong. The jokes, the bullying, the feeling of being invisible yet painfully seen at the same time. That's the kind of loneliness that doesn't just hurt. It changes you. Most people don't understand what it's like to be truly alone, to walk through hallways and feel the weight of every glance, every snicker, every moment that tells you you are not one of us. Most people don't understand how that kind of pain can either break you or make you unshakable. Because here's the thing about being alone: it forces you to listen to the only voice that truly matters, your own. And in that silence, you have two choices: let their words define you, or define yourself. The world will always try to put limits on you. It will tell you where you belong, what you can achieve, how far you can go. But what happens when you refuse to listen? What happens when you decide, I will not be what they expect, I will be more? That's the moment everything changes. Pain is not the enemy. Rejection is not the enemy. Being alone is not the enemy. The only enemy is the belief that you are not enough. And once you stop believing that lie, once you stop waiting for someone to accept you, approve of you, or invite you in, that's when you become powerful. No one talks about the nights spent crying in silence, the moments of doubt that creep in when no one is around, the temptation to shrink, to disappear, to give up just so the pain will stop. But those moments, that's where real strength is born. That's where you decide, am I going to be who they tell me to be, or am I going to become something they've never seen before? It's easy to say, I'll show them. But the truth is, you don't have to prove anything to anyone. The only person you ever need to impress is the person staring back at you in the mirror. Because once you believe in yourself, no one's opinion can break you. Once you decide that you don't need their approval, you become unstoppable. Most people are afraid of being alone. They think loneliness is a sign of failure, a sign that something is wrong with them. But what if being alone is the greatest advantage you'll ever have? Think about it. The strongest minds in history, the game changers, the visionaries, the people who shaped the world, they all spent time alone. Because when you're alone, something powerful happens. The noise disappears. The distractions fade, and for the first time, you're forced to confront yourself. Most people never do that. They spend their whole lives running from their thoughts, running from their fears, running towards people just to avoid sitting with themselves. But those who embrace solitude, they discover something that most people never will. They discover who they really are. Because here's the truth. When you are alone, you are in control. You control what you think. You control what you focus on. You control how you grow. No one is there to define you. No one is there to limit you. It's just you and your potential. And yes, it's uncomfortable at first. The silence can feel heavy. The loneliness can feel overwhelming. But if you can push through that, if you can sit in that discomfort instead of running from it, that's when you unlock your true strength. The world teaches you to fear being alone, but the world is wrong, because solitude is not emptiness. It is space. Space to think, space to grow, space to become. When you have no one to lean on, you learn to stand tall. When you have no one to validate you, you learn to trust yourself. And when you stop seeking approval, you become unstoppable. The most dangerous person is the one who doesn't need validation, the one who isn't afraid of walking alone, the one who has learned to be their own source of strength. Because here's the secret. Once you master solitude, you master life. Most people let loneliness break them, but the strongest use it to build themselves. And when they return, when they walk back into the world, they are no longer looking for a place to fit in. They create a place for themselves. That is the power of being alone. It doesn't make you weaker, it makes you invincible. People see the crown, they see the applause, the flashing lights, the celebration, but they don't see what it took to get there. Winning wasn't just about beauty. It wasn't about wearing a gown and smiling for the cameras. It was about stepping onto that stage despite the doubt, despite the fear, despite every voice that said, "You don't belong here," because even in that moment, there were people who didn't believe. People who whispered, "She's not the right fit." People who judged, criticized, and waited for failure. But here's the truth about moments like this. You don't win when they choose you. You win when you choose yourself. Confidence is not something you're given. It's something you decide to have. It's standing tall even when your hands are shaking. It's speaking with power even when your heart is racing. It's believing in yourself so deeply that the world has no choice but to believe in you too. Because life is not about waiting for permission, it's about taking up space. Owning your presence, walking into every room like you belong there. Because you do. That crown was not just a trophy, it was proof. Proof that no matter how many times life tried to break someone, they could still rise. Proof that the same person who was once bullied, doubted, and made to feel invisible could one day stand in front of the world and say, "Look at me now." And that's the power of resilience. Most people wait for the right moment to feel confident. They think, once I achieve something, then I'll believe in myself. But that's not how it works. You believe first and then the world follows, because the truth is nobody is going to hand you confidence. Nobody is going to give you permission to succeed. You have to take it. So whatever dream you have, whatever stage you want to step onto, whatever life you want to build, stop waiting for approval. Stop waiting for someone to tell you you're good enough. Decide that you are. Because when you do that, when you walk with that energy, that fire, that unshakable belief, the world will have no choice but to watch you win. Success looks glamorous from the outside. The achievements, the recognition, the life that seems perfect. But what no one talks about is the cost, the sacrifices, the silent battles, the moments that test everything you are. Because here's the truth. The higher you rise, the lonelier it gets. The more you achieve, the more resistance you face. The same people who once ignored you now have opinions about you. The same voices that doubted you now whisper about you. Success doesn't just bring applause, it brings criticism. It brings judgment. It brings people who want to see you fail simply because they can't handle seeing you win. And that's the moment where most people break. They let the pressure crush them. They start questioning themselves. Am I really good enough? Do I really belong here? They start shrinking, apologizing, making themselves smaller just to make others comfortable. But that is the biggest mistake you can ever make, because the moment you start doubting yourself, the world will follow. The moment you give in to fear, the world will push you down even further. You don't get to the top by asking for permission. You don't stay at the top by seeking approval. You rise by owning who you are, by refusing to apologize for your ambition, by standing tall even when the weight of the world is on your shoulders. There was a time when the world tried to put limits, when people said, "This is as far as you can go," when the industry tried to define what was possible. And for a moment, maybe the doubt crept in, maybe the voices got louder, but then came the realization, the only limits that exist are the ones you accept. Because the truth is, the world doesn't decide how far you can go, you do. And once you understand that, once you stop letting their opinions shape your reality, you become dangerous, you become unstoppable. Most people dream small because they're afraid of what happens when they dream big. Afraid of failure, afraid of judgment, afraid of stepping into spaces where they were never invited. But power doesn't come from staying where you're comfortable. Power comes from walking into the unknown, from taking risks, from daring to do what others won't. The price of success is high. It demands everything, your time, your energy, your peace. It demands sacrifice. It demands resilience. It demands that you keep going even when everything inside you wants to quit. It demands that you think of everything inside you wants to quit. But the reward? The reward is becoming someone no one can ignore. So the question is, are you willing to pay the price? Are you willing to bet on yourself when no one else will? Are you willing to keep going even when the path is filled with obstacles? Because if you are, if you refuse to back down, if you refuse to be limited by fear, then there is no force in this world that can stop you. No criticism, no rejection, no failure, nothing. Because the moment you decide that nothing will break you, that's the moment you win. Pain is a powerful thing. It can destroy you, break you, make you question everything you are. But it can also do something else. It can make you unstoppable. Most people run from pain. They avoid it. They numb it. They let it convince them that they are weak. But the truth is, pain is not your enemy. Pain is your greatest teacher, because pain doesn't just show up for no reason. It comes to show you something, to make you stronger, to force you to grow. Think about it. Every powerful person you admire, every legend, every leader, every icon, they have all been through something. They have all faced rejection, failure, heartbreak, betrayal. They have all been pushed to their limits. But what separates them from the rest? They didn't let the pain define them, they let it fuel them. They let it sharpen them. They took every setback, every insult, every moment of doubt and turned it into fire. That's the difference. That's what most people don't understand. They think that success comes from talent, from luck, from being in the right place at the right time. But the truth, success comes from the struggle, from the moments when you wanted to quit but didn't, from the nights you cried but still got up the next morning, from the times when the world counted you out but you kept moving forward anyway. Because pain, when used the right way, becomes power. The world is going to test you. Life is going to throw obstacles in your path. People are going to doubt you, betray you, try to bring you down. That's a fact. But you have a choice. You can let it break you, or you can let it build you. You can sit in the pain and let it consume you, or you can use it as fuel, as proof, as a reminder that you are capable of enduring anything. Because every time life knocks you down and you get back up, you become stronger. Every time you face failure and keep moving forward, you become wiser. Every time someone tells you you can't and you prove them wrong, you become unstoppable. So don't fear the struggle. Don't run from the pain. Embrace it, learn from it, let it shape you. Because the most powerful people in the world, they are the ones who have suffered and survived. And once you realize that nothing can break you, you will finally understand that nothing can stop you. The world will always try to tell you who you should be. It will put labels on you. It will try to box you in, define you, limit you. And if you're not careful, you'll start believing it. You'll start thinking that you have to fit a mold, that you have to act a certain way, look a certain way, live a certain way, just to be accepted. But here's the truth. You don't owe the world an explanation for who you are. You don't have to shrink yourself to fit into spaces that were never meant for you. You don't have to apologize for being different, for standing out, for choosing a path that no one understands. Because the second you stop trying to fit in is the second you step into your true power. Most people live their entire lives trying to please others. They change themselves, adjust their dreams, silence their voices just to make the world comfortable. But what does that leave them with? A life that isn't even theirs. A version of themselves that is nothing but a reflection of what others expect. But what happens when you stop living for them? What happens when you stop seeking approval? What happens when you decide that your voice, your choices, your identity belong to you and no one else? That's when everything changes. Because confidence isn't about arrogance. It's not about being the loudest person in the room. It's about knowing exactly who you are and refusing to be anything else. It's about walking into any space, any room, any opportunity and owning it, not because you think you're better, but because you refuse to be less. The world respects people who respect themselves. The world follows those who lead with certainty, not the ones who hesitate, not the ones who question their worth, but the ones who walk with conviction. That's the energy that changes lives. So stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for someone to tell you that you're good enough, worthy enough, capable enough. You decide that. And once you do, once you fully embrace yourself without fear, without hesitation, without apology, you become unstoppable. Because power isn't given, it's taken. And the moment you claim it, the world has no choice but to recognize it. From the moment you are born, the world starts placing expectations on you. They tell you how to speak, how to behave, what dreams are realistic, what paths are acceptable. And if you listen too closely, you'll spend your whole life trying to meet standards that were never yours to begin with. But here's the truth. Living for other people will never bring you happiness. It will only leave you exhausted, lost, and unfulfilled. Because no matter how much you try to please the world, it will always ask for more. No matter how hard you try to fit in, there will always be someone who thinks you should be different. And if you keep living for them, you'll lose yourself in the process. So the question is, who are you really living for? Are you making choices because they fulfill you, or because they satisfy someone else's expectations? Most people never ask themselves that question. They follow the path that was laid out for them. They do what's safe, what's expected, what keeps them in the good graces of others. And in doing so, they betray themselves. But the people who change the world, the people who create extraordinary lives, they refuse to live by rules that don't align with their purpose. They break free. They decide that their life is theirs, that their happiness, their success, their choices will not be dictated by anyone else. And yes, it's uncomfortable, it's scary to go against the grain, to disappoint people, to step outside of what's normal. But that discomfort, that fear, it's the price of freedom. Because you cannot live an extraordinary life while following ordinary expectations. You cannot rise if you're constantly weighed down by what others think. You cannot be truly happy if your life is built on someone else's dreams instead of your own. So let go. Let go of the need to be understood. Let go of the need to be liked by everyone. Let go of the fear of disappointing people who were never meant to walk your path. Because the day you do, the day you stop chasing validation and start chasing your own purpose, that's the day you finally start living. And once you taste that freedom, once you realize that you don't need permission to be who you are, you will never go back. You will never shrink yourself again. Because real power comes from knowing that the only expectations that matter are the ones you set for yourself. There comes a moment in life when you realize not everyone is meant to walk with you. Some people will leave, some will doubt you, some will try to hold you back. And for a while that might hurt. But here's what most people don't understand. Walking alone is not a weakness, it's a strength. Because when you learn to stand alone, when you stop depending on approval, on validation, on the presence of others, you become powerful. You become unshakable. Most people fear loneliness. They think being alone means they've failed, that if they don't have a crowd cheering them on, they're doing something wrong. But the truth is, the strongest people in the world are the ones who can stand alone and still move forward. Because loneliness is not emptiness, it's space. Space to grow, to think, to build, to become who you were always meant to be. Think about it. Every person who has ever achieved something great had a season of isolation, a time when they had to distance themselves, a time when they had to let go of what was familiar, of people who didn't see their vision, of environments that no longer served them. It wasn't easy. It wasn't comfortable, but it was necessary. Because you cannot rise if you are surrounded by those who want to keep you small. You cannot evolve if you are constantly seeking approval from those who do not understand your journey. So don't fear standing alone. Fear staying in places where you no longer belong. Because solitude is not punishment, it's preparation. It's in the silence that you hear your true voice. It's in the stillness that you find clarity. It's in the moments of being alone that you realize you were never really alone. You had yourself. And that was always enough. When you become comfortable with solitude, you become dangerous. Because now no one can use loneliness to break you. Now no rejection, no abandonment, no loss can shake your foundation. You stop chasing people. You stop begging for acceptance. You move with purpose, knowing that whoever is meant to walk with you will find you, and whoever isn't was never meant to stay. That's the mindset that builds greatness. That's the energy that creates unshakable confidence. So stop waiting for company. Stop fearing the quiet. Stand tall in your solitude. Because the moment you do, the moment you truly embrace your own strength, nothing and no one will ever have power over you again. If there is one thing that separates those who succeed from those who don't, it's not talent. It's not resources. It's not even luck. It's belief. Because the truth is, the world will not believe in you until you believe in yourself first. Most people wait. They wait for someone to validate them. They wait for a sign, for permission, for the perfect moment. And in that waiting, they waste time. They waste potential. They waste opportunities that could have changed their lives. But the ones who rise, the ones who achieve the impossible, they don't wait. They believe. Even when no one else does. Even when the odds are stacked against them. Even when the world tells them no. Because belief is a force. It's the thing that turns ordinary people into legends. It's the thing that turns a dream into reality, a vision into success, a nobody into a name that the world will never forget. Think about it. Every great achievement in history started with one person who dared to believe. Before anyone else saw the vision, before the success, before the fame, it was just belief. And that's where most people get it wrong. They think belief comes after success, after proof, after the world acknowledges them. But the truth, belief comes first. You have to believe in yourself before anyone else does. You have to trust your ability before you have the results to prove it. You have to walk with confidence even when the path ahead is uncertain. Because if you don't believe in yourself, why would anyone else? Self-belief is not arrogance. It's knowing your worth before the world recognizes it. It's showing up every day, putting in the work, pushing forward, even when no one is watching. Most people quit too soon. They give up the moment they face rejection, the moment they fail, the moment things get difficult. But the ones who keep going, the ones who refuse to let doubt win, they are the ones who make it. Because belief is a choice. It's not something you're born with, it's something you build. Every time you push past fear, you strengthen your belief. Every time you take a step forward, even when it's hard, you reinforce it. And every time you refuse to quit, even when the world doubts you, you prove to yourself that you are unstoppable. So don't wait for the world to believe in you. Believe in yourself first. Walk like you are already successful. Speak like you are already powerful. Act like you already have everything you need. Because the moment you truly believe it, the world will have no choice but to believe it too. Pain is inevitable. At some point, life will test you. You will face rejection. You will experience loss. You will feel like everything you worked for is slipping away. And in those moments, you will have a choice. Let the pain break you or let it build you. Most people run from pain. They avoid it. They try to numb it, escape it, pretend it doesn't exist. But pain doesn't disappear just because you ignore it. It lingers, it grows, it controls you in ways you don't even realize. But the strongest people in the world, They don't run from pain, they use it. They take their struggles, their disappointments, their failures, and they turn them into fuel. They let pain sharpen them, strengthen them, push them forward. Because pain is not the enemy, staying stuck in it is. Think about it. Every person who has ever accomplished something great has been through pain. The difference is they didn't let it define them. They didn't let heartbreak stop them from loving. They didn't let failure stop them from trying again. They didn't let rejection convince them they weren't good enough, because they understood something most people don't. Pain is temporary, but what you do with it lasts forever. You can let pain make you bitter, or you can let it make you better. You can let it weaken you, or you can let it strengthen you. You can let it break you down, or you can use it as the fire that pushes you forward. The choice is yours. But here's the truth. You are stronger than your pain. You have survived things that you once thought would destroy you. You have made it through days you thought you wouldn't. And if you did it once, you can do it again. You are not your suffering. You are not your mistakes. You are not the moments that tried to break you. You are the warrior who kept going, the fighter who refused to stay down, the person who decided that pain would not be the end of their story. So use it. Let the pain remind you of what you're capable of. Let it teach you. Let it mold you into someone who refuses to quit. Because when you take control of your pain, when you turn it into power, there is nothing, absolutely nothing, that can stop you. Fear. It stops more dreams than failure ever will. It whispers in your ear, telling you you're not ready, you're not good enough, you'll never make it. And if you listen, if you let fear control you, it will keep you small. It will keep you from becoming the person you were meant to be. But here's the truth. Fear is a liar. It's a trick your mind plays to keep you safe, to keep you comfortable. But comfort never built anything great. The people who succeed, the ones who change their lives, they feel fear just like everyone else, but they move anyway. They take action even when their hands shake, even when doubt creeps in, even when the path ahead is uncertain. Because courage is not the absence of fear. It's moving forward despite it. Most people wait. They wait for fear to disappear before they take the first step. But fear never goes away on its own. It only shrinks when you face it. So if you're waiting to feel ready, if you're waiting for the fear to fade, you will wait forever. The only way to conquer fear is to walk straight through it. Fear will tell you to stay quiet when you should speak up. It will tell you to stay where it's safe instead of stepping into the unknown. It will tell you to settle for what you have instead of fighting for what you deserve. Do not listen, because everything you want, everything you are capable of, everything you dream of, it's on the other side of fear. Fear will always be there, but so will you. And every time you take action, every time you push through, you weaken its grip. Think about the times in your life when you were afraid to do something, afraid to start, afraid to fail, afraid to take a risk. And then think about the moments when you did it anyway. What happened? You survived, you grew, you became stronger, and suddenly the thing you once feared wasn't so terrifying anymore. That's how you build a fearless mindset. By proving to yourself over and over again that fear has no real power. The only power it has is the power you give it. So stop giving it control. Feel the fear, acknowledge it, and then move forward anyway. Because the moment you stop letting fear dictate your choices is the moment you truly start living. Life will test you. It will throw obstacles in your path, challenge your patience, and push you to your limits. But the real question is, how will you respond? Most people give up at the first sign of struggle. They see failure as a stop sign, as proof that they are not capable. But those who rise, those who achieve the impossible, they see failure differently. They see failure as a lesson, as a stepping stone, as part of the journey to success. They don't break, they bounce back. Resilience is not something you are born with. It's something you build. It's built every time you refuse to quit, every time you get back up after falling, every time you prove to yourself that setbacks do not define you. Think about it. Every successful person, every game changer, every history maker has one thing in common. They refused to stay down. They heard no more times than they could count. They were rejected, they were doubted, they were told they weren't good enough, but they didn't let that stop them because they understood something most people don't. Pain is temporary, but quitting lasts forever. Most people let one failure define their entire future. They let one rejection convince them to stop trying. But the truth is, failure is only failure if you stop. If you keep going, it becomes experience, it becomes fuel, it becomes part of your success story. You cannot build strength without struggle. You cannot build character without challenge. Every setback, every disappointment, every difficult moment, they are not there to stop you, they are there to shape you, but resilience is a choice. You have to decide that no matter how hard it gets, you will not break. You have to decide that no matter how many times you fall, you will rise again. Because resilience is what separates those who make it from those who don't. It's not talent, it's not luck, it's not intelligence. It's the ability to keep going when others would quit. So when life knocks you down, when everything feels like it's falling apart, remember this. You have survived every challenge you have faced so far. You are still here, still standing, still fighting. That is your proof. Proof that you are stronger than you think. Proof that nothing can break you unless you allow it to. So keep going, keep pushing, keep proving to yourself and to the world that you are unstoppable. What if the only limits in your life were the ones you created in your mind? What if everything you ever wanted, success, happiness, fulfillment, was already within your reach, but you were too afraid to claim it? Most people live inside invisible walls, walls built by fear, by doubt, by the opinions of others. They convince themselves they can't. They convince themselves they're not enough, and so they stop trying. They settle for a life that is smaller than what they're capable of. But the truth is, there are no real limits. There are only the ones you choose to accept. The people who achieve greatness, the ones who redefine what's possible, they don't accept limits. They don't believe in too hard, too late, or impossible, because they understand that every challenge, every obstacle, every doubt can be overcome with the right mindset. The difference between success and failure is not talent, it's belief. The belief that no matter how difficult the journey, no matter how many times they fall, they will find a way. Because the mind is the most powerful tool you have. It can either be your greatest weapon or your biggest enemy, and the choice is yours. You can choose to let fear win. You can choose to listen to the voice that says you're not good enough. You can choose to stay where it's safe, where it's comfortable, or you can choose to break free. You can choose to rewrite the story, to push past your doubts, to step into the person you were always meant to become. Because the only thing standing between you and the life you want is the belief that it's possible. Think about it. Every great achievement in history, every person who changed the world, they started as ordinary people. The only difference? They refused to accept limitations. They refused to believe that where they came from defined where they could go. They refused to let circumstances, failures, or fear control their destiny. And now it's your turn. Stop waiting for permission. Stop waiting for the perfect moment. Stop waiting for someone to tell you that you can. Because the moment you decide, truly decide, that nothing can stop you, nothing will, you have everything you need inside of you, the strength, the resilience, the power. You were not born to be average, you were born to be limitless. So step into it, own it, believe in it, and watch as the world rises to meet you.